So we'll start with the big question, which is what is NLP? I'm just gonna go over sort of the format of this uh, lecture that I'm gonna give. I'm gonna try not to go over time. And the first part is gonna be like this slideshow lecture thing. I only have a few slides, so I shouldn't bore you to death while I'm doing this. And the second part is gonna be like an actual project where you're gonna learn about NLP and generating song lyrics. And it's a project that I made, so it's not like I found this on the internet and I'm giving you something someone already made. No, this is something that I made a few months ago, and I'll be showing you pretty much. I'll be typing it from scratch, so feel free to follow along with that part of it, and learn how it is that you can create your own NLP project. So we'll start with the high level. What is NLP? So just to start with a few definitions, just so we're like on the same page here. We'll start with AI, which is like the first sort of like highest level of things. Like I said, you don't need any prerequisite knowledge here. I'm starting from pretty much the basics. And the AI is the science and engineering of making intelligent machines, and it combines computer science and data. And I don't want people thinking like, oh, that's some weird definition. Like, no, it's just computer science and data kind of together. You can think of it making something smart, making AI. Doesn't have to get more complicated than that. And then when we're looking at NLP specifically, we're looking at the branch of AI or computer science that gives computers the capacity to understand, interpret, and manipulate human language. So what does that mean? It means we're specifically looking at words, well, not necessarily words, but human language. It can be any language, really. We're going to be focusing on English today, obviously, but you can also have NLP in different languages, and you sort of like it's understanding the linguistics, and it's really hard to write rules for these, and I'll get to that idea in a second. But this is one of the reasons that that you have deep learning in NLP, because these are really problems that it's hard to write rules for, and deep learning is a good approach to solving some problems where, or machine learning in general also, where rule-based systems don't work. And that's sort of my last bullet point here, where human language is complicated and there are many ways of saying the same thing. And then this is where sort of you can use data to like learn rules rather than writing them yourself. So kind of in the top here, I have ways of saying it's hot. You can say it's roasting, it's burning, it's steamy. We're having a heat wave, it's scorching, it's boiling. You can probably do like an infinite list for this. And that's where sort of things get complicated. And like if you're trying to write rules as you would in like classic computer science, you'd have problems. But that's where machine learning can sort of, you feed it a lot of data, and as it starts picking up on patterns, it can start learning it by itself. And that's why you have NLP. And later when we go into the example, I will be specifically teaching you some NLP with deep learning. So yeah, this is where we're going to be sort of like in the middle of this picture on the bottom right. We're going to be in the middle of AI, machine learning, deep learning, and NLP. We're going to be at that intersection. If anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat again. I don't see any, so I'll move on. Common NLP tasks. So what does that actually mean? Like, how can you use this thing? The first one is speech recognition. I'm sure that a lot of you already know this. It's, you know, Siri, Alexa, all of those sort of voice bots or whatever, where they convert human voice to text. That's one example. Named entity recognition, which is identifying particular words in text. So for example, if you see here in the picture on the bottom right, there's this paragraph, and you see the Jeff Masters is in red, and it's identified as a person's name. Weather Underground, it's identified this as an organization. Irma is a name, and Cuba is a location. So that's this task of named entity recognition, where you're searching a block of text for something specific. So going back to what I worked on before, I said I was working as a machine learning intern in NLP, and what we were doing was we were trying to find chemical names in scientific papers. So I was doing a named entity recognition task where we were trying to identify chemical names. The next one would be sentiment analysis, which is extracting subjective qualities from text. So what does that actually mean? It can pretty much have a lot of meanings. Like it can mean like emotions or moods or things like that, and trying to like guess what the text is what the preface of the text is. So an example is here in the top right. You see the like a really short example is my experience so far has been fantastic. So a sentiment analysis task would be to identify that as a positive message. The next thing is the product is okay, I guess. You would identify that as neutral. And the last one is your support team is useless, in which case you would identify that as negative. So that's sort of sentiment analysis, where you take this whole bunch of text and you associate it with like, is this good, bad? Like, what's the emotion behind it? Next, we have document summarization, which is where you would convert large amount of text into a small summary. There's really a lot of applications in this, and it's pretty cool. So you can take maybe like, I don't know, a really long legal document and condense it down to just a few lines, giving you a quick summary, saves a lot of time. And there's been a lot of work on this in the past, so that's an interesting one. Then there's machine translation, where you translate from one language to another. I'm not sure in the past if you guys have used like Google Translate, and it hasn't worked too well. And part of the reason is because like when you're translating between languages, sometimes like the meanings get lost, and it, like especially if you like use Google Translate for something really long, it might get confusing, and like you realize like what you typed doesn't really make sense in the other language. So that's where NLP comes in, and Google Translate actually recently has done a good job of like using NLP and trying to improve their translating capability by using NLP techniques, and that's sort of one of the reasons, because like you can't just translate one word for another word in another language because it won't really make sense. Like you really have to start learning the rules of the language so you can try to understand what the person is saying in another language. And the final part is natural language generation, and this is creating structured text. If that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry. This is actually what the little project that we'll be working on later on is going to be about. So you'll have a good idea of what natural language generation is. And yeah, so this is not a comprehensive list. There are more NLP tasks that exist. This is just like getting your feet wet. Like, what are some of the common NLP tasks that you'll come across? So I just gave a few examples here, and yeah, there's a few more that I'm not specifically talking about. Okay, I see a question in the chat. So if you have another question, feel free to type it as I answer this one. So would sentiment analysis be used to evaluate the tone and mood? Yeah, I think this is probably from a while ago and I missed this. Sorry, because I think I did answer this, but you'll pretty much be analyzing tone and mood. I think place where this is like pretty well used is for, well, the most common example would be for say movie data sets, where you'd want to tell if you have a positive or negative reviewer. Or really, it doesn't really have to be movies. It can really be any sort of review, any company who's trying to look at their reviews really quickly and see like if the users are commenting good things or bad things about it. You can use NLP to sort of grab this whole bunch of text and tell you like, is this like what sort of emotion does this person have behind them? So that maybe like if you're a company and you're trying to like satisfy the customers that really are saying bad stuff about your product, like by using NLP you can find out, oh, this person didn't like my product. Let me see what they wrote and dig into it deeper. Things like that. So I hope that answers your question. Are there any other questions? I don't see any others. I'll give it a second for people if anyone's typing. But if not, I'll move on in a minute. Nope, I don't really see any questions. So I'll quickly talk about sort of like I was gonna add this in, but I thought it might not be that relevant. I can just talk about it quickly, which is sort of where is this actually getting used in real life. So like I said before, like you guys know, like Siri and Amazon Alexa, they're using some NLP to convert human voice to text. And a lot of the time, also they're gonna have to, like after Siri understands something you write, it's gonna be sort of like a bunch of text. But then after Siri gets a bunch of text, like the Siri has to do some more NLP to like convert that text into understanding like what did they actually ask me. So not only understanding the voice, but then getting the meaning behind that. And then usually they'll have to do a search and then do some more NLP to find, okay, what's the answer for this? And then finally return an answer. So that's like a really like confusing big example, but like as you can see, there's really big applications like that. Also, like Google Translate, it's a great one. There's a lot of work in named entity recognition. Like I said before, I was working on sort of identifying chemical names, and I know that there's many other sort of like identifying specific type of tasks that other, I guess, companies are using to find specific words. So I guess maybe if you are, I don't know, a sports organization, you'd want to look for maybe specific like messages that you're getting that would have to do with player names to see like which players are most popular or something like that. So those are some just common tasks. And I think we'll dive right into the actual content, which is the project. I think that's what I want to spend the most time on, and that's what we're going to be learning today. So I'm going to dive straight into it. This is going to take up the bulk of the time. If we finish a bit early, that's good. That means you're going to get a bit of time back. If not, feel free to stop and ask questions, because I think this will be the more confusing part, and you won't have to hear me talk the whole time because you'll be typing along with me, hopefully. So let's get the setup started. So follow along with me. If you need me to wait a second for you because you're a little bit confused, feel free to put that in the chat. Don't be ashamed. Just we'll try to wait for you, and we'll try to make sure everyone has the setup ready. So you'll be creating lyrics for a specific artist. And I guess I had a question. I'm not sure if anyone's going to answer this for me, but what type of NLP task is this an example of? So I just went through a few examples of NLP tasks. Can anyone remember what we're doing here, or what's the specific task's name? I'll give it like 30 seconds in the chat. If no one answers, I'll just tell you what it is, and we'll move on. Thank you, Beatrix. Natural language generation. Yes, you are correct. So we will be doing an example of natural language generation. And yeah, so this is like, I'm not sugarcoating anything. Like, this is, you're going to be finishing with a real project, and there will be some words coming out. It's not going to be perfect, but you'll have some fun with it. I remember when I made the project, I did have some fun with it. So I hope that I can pass on the same experience to you. The setup. So I hope that everyone was able to get a Kaggle account, because you're going to need it to download the data, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to send this link in the chat. Hopefully you guys can get it. Oh, I think I just sent this to one person. Let me just send this to everyone now instead. Yes, just sent this to everyone. So this is the data set that we're going to be using. If everyone can go in the chat, click that. If you don't have an account, you probably need to make an account, because I'm pretty sure you can't download data set without having an account. So you're going to go here. You're going to, once you click the link, you're going to press download. I've already done this, but I'll do it again anyway. So you press download in the bottom left of my screen. You can see something's downloading. It's downloaded 5 times already, because I've done this a few times already. Then when it's done, you're going to press open. And yeah, you're going to have something here. So I guess everyone has different computers than me, so I'm not really sure like how Mac works exactly. But if you're on Windows, at least it should work the same. This is right now, like, you can't really use these things. What you're gonna have to do is extract all. So if you have a button that says extract all somewhere, or you know how to extract things, I would go extract all. And this is pretty much because it's in a compressed format right now. So let me try it again. Oh, it's because it's on my other screen. Okay, so extract all, and you're going to say where you want to extract this. So you can really choose somewhere on your computer that you know you're going to be able to find. And this is because we're going to have to pull these files. There's only 2 files, so you'll be able to find them. But make sure you put them somewhere that you're able to find them, so that later on you can sort of use them. So you're just going to select some folder that you know where it is, and you're going to press extract. I already have files in here, so I'll just go ahead and replace mine. So pretty much, I'm starting from scratch. I'm like at the same step that you guys are right now, and so everyone should be up to date with me here. I will give a second for people to try and do that. Hopefully that's not too confusing. And if you've done this right, you should have your folder where you extracted it, and you should have artist data and lyrics data, and you should be able to sort of like pick a file and drag it a little bit. So yeah. Done, extracted already. Done too. Okay, actually, yeah, you know what? If you're done, please put a message. And if you're not done, don't feel ashamed. I feel like whenever I was doing one of these things, I would not be done, but I'd be like too scared to say like, oh, I'm not done. Give me a second. So if that's you, that was me in the past too. So don't be afraid to just be like, oh, can you give me a second? I'll give it to like 1 or 2 more minutes. I'll give it to 8:24. Or until I see like a bunch of more messages pop up, and then we'll move on. So yeah, this is important. 1 second, I'm switching devices. Okay, no worries. We'll give you 2 minutes. We'll wait till 8:24. And if not, remember this is always recorded. So if you get stuck somewhere and you're like, oh shoot, I lost him, you can always like go back and do this at a later time. And I would actually encourage you, if you want to play around with this yourself later. even after we go through this together. I would encourage you to sort of type it out on your own after, just so you can make sure like, oh, yeah, I think I got what he was talking about, or even just play around with it, because that's like the best way to learn. The best way to learn is not just to listen to me, but also later on go do some stuff on your own. And that's just reality. So we'll give it one more minute. Hopefully everyone's done that step with me. In the meantime, the other thing you're going to need is you will need Google Collab. So let's get out of the way, please. No, it's not out of the way. Actually, you know what? That was actually kind of good because I can open my tab here. So what you're going to do is you're just going to, I'll probably send the link as well. You can just type Google Collab on Google. I'll send this link, don't worry. If you haven't chat. Could we instead use Jupyter notebooks? Yeah, I mean, go ahead to use this. This is a Jupyter notebook pretty much. It's just the problem with a general Jupyter notebook is that you're not going to have access to a GPU, and we're going to be training with GPUs. So your training might not go so smoothly. That's the reason why I suggest Google Colab, because you have free GPUs here. I remember when I was starting out like writing stuff, I would always use Google Colab because of that. I will go over what a GPU is in a second. It's for now, don't worry about it. Yeah, I would recommend using Google Colab instead of a Jupyter notebook. Even though like this is a Jupyter notebook, it's just Google's version and it has kind of more fun stuff to it. So would recommend. And then when you click on the site, okay, can we download the notebook from Google Collab later on? Yeah, you could. There's a way to download the notebook. I would recommend you just type from scratch. I mean, I'll just, if you want to type along with me, I think that's the best way to do it. Later on, I'll give you access to everything, so you'll be able to upload and check it later on. But I guess for now, I would recommend just going from scratch and following along with me. So yeah, I would say let's go. If you're here, please press here in File, which is in the top left corner, and then New Notebook. So again, that's File in the top left corner, and then New Notebook, and click it, and it should bring you somewhere like this. So yeah, and you should say like Untitled IPYNB. This is like IPython notebook. That's the type of file that we're using. So hopefully you can do this step. Let me know if you haven't been able to make it to this step yet. And actually, I just read back the question that I just got asked. I understood that wrong. The question was, can we download the notebook from Google Colab later on? I did not read that question wrong. Yes, you can. So if you go File and then Download, you can download this as a Python notebook. And why would you want to download it? Well, if you just want to download it and move it somewhere else later so you can save it in a better place, you can do that. So yeah, you definitely can do that. Let me know if does everyone have a blank Jupyter notebook or Google Colab open? Yes. I see a lot of yeses. So, and yeah, I mean, I guess if your answer is no, don't worry. Just you can stick around and listen. I'm sure you'll still learn a ton, and you can definitely go back and do this later. So I guess let's get started. The first thing that we're gonna do. Actually, let me go back to my slides, see if there's any last thing I missed. So the setup is running a Jupyter notebook with a GPU. I'm gonna go over that in a second, and loading CSV data. So we have to do that still. Yeah. So let's get to it. I'm gonna be using this notebook. Don't worry, I don't really have any extra stuff. You'll have access to this later too. This is pretty much blank for the most part. And I would say you don't really need anything necessarily. You can type everything out yourself. I guess if you do, actually, yeah, we'll get started. You don't need this right now. It just has some extra comments for me to know what I'm supposed to do and some extra information that I'll be talking about, so you guys won't need it for now. I think the first thing we need to do is, what do we do with the data? So we're gonna in your blank one, which will look a little bit more like this. In the bottom left corner, there's like this files thing, and you should see the sample data folder, which just kind of pops up by default in Google Colab. So everyone should see that. Well, what should we title the project? You can title it Learnathon22 Nlp or something like that if you want. Learnathon22 NLP.IPID if you want to title it that. And so we'll be loading in some sample data. So I'll do it over here in mine. And so you're gonna have to go to wherever you downloaded your data. So that's why I said it's important you sort of remember where you did that. And all you're gonna do is you're gonna sort of drag and drop straight into here, for example. Okay. And you need to drag and drop both files, so please do that as I do that as well. And you should see them pop up in here as you do that. So I see artist data here, and sometimes they don't load. So if you close it and reopen it, you should see both. So I have artist data here and lyrics data. So hopefully you guys were able to get the same sort of thing. I'll wait a second for people to make sure they see sample, like they see the sample data folder, and then they see artist data and then lyrics data. Where do we drag it? Just into the sample data folder. So if you're here and you're like, oh, I don't know where to go, you go here, and then there's a sample data folder, and like you just literally like anywhere here, like you just sort of, I'll just delete one. I'll delete lyrics data, for example. I'll delete the file. Please don't do this if you have yours already. This is just me showing again. Where I'll go data and lyrics data. So this is the one that I downloaded and extracted. You can also use the upload button. Pandas says you can also use the upload button. I guess there's an upload button, which is probably this one. That might even work better. Let's see. Upload. Yeah, you know what? That might even work better. I think that's the upload button. So if you go upload, you find the place where you put your data, and you get your lyrics data. Yeah, it looks like I have a few copies already loading up here, so it might not like that. But yeah, you can also do that. So you can drag and drop, or you can use the other option suggested, which was this upload button right here, and then find your file and make sure it's in the sample data folder. Is everyone okay with that step? Yep. Okay. So yes, make sure we have lyrics data and artist data. So I see lyrics data is good. So yeah, we're gonna want both of them. So if you've done one, please do the other. I'll give it like a minute just to make sure. And this first part is annoying. You're like, oh, this guy's like wasting our time here. Yeah, I'm sorry. We'll get into the juicy stuff in a second. Just you need to set up your project, or else you don't have data. You don't really have AI. Remember the definition of AI I gave was computer science and data. Well, big part of deep learning in general, actually I would say like 80% is like data stuff, and oh man, this file loaded now. And the other sort of 20% is actually like machine learning stuff. So this is why we're gonna have to deal a lot with data. Question: what happens if we accidentally download the lyrics file twice? Nothing. I would say. I mean, I did that. You saw me like have a bunch. So I would say like it's probably fine. Just yeah, like if you see it pop up twice, just like you can just delete it. If you see one, like it won't download twice in the same folder. Like it'll deal with that for you. So yeah, as long as you see artist data and lyrics data inside the sample data folder, you're okay. Yeah, so honestly, let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is like normally you wouldn't really be able to check, or well, you would be able to check, but let's just really make sure like in code that we're able to see that we have these files here. So I'm gonna start with, you can start typing along with me right now. And the first thing I'm gonna do is import OS. What this does is just OS is like the file, like yeah, I guess it's like file system dealer in Python. So it'll help us look at files just to make sure we have our stuff where we want it to be. So we're gonna go os.getCwd, and what this does is it's gonna tell us like where are we standing right now. So we're standing inside the /content folder. You can't see it, but like this folder is called the /content folder, and that's just because the project loaded here. So this is where we are. You can then create a new code file by going plus code in the there's this plus code one, you press plus code and you get this new code file pop up. So if you're in a blank one, it might look something like this. And this is just so you can run a new command. And oh, by the way, you run by clicking this run cell button. I use shortcuts, so if I'm doing stuff quickly, it's because of that, but I'll try not to do stuff too quickly so you guys can follow along. So now we're gonna do os.chdir, which is change directory, and we're gonna check sample data. And then we're gonna, so what we're doing is, like I said, we're in the content. We want to look inside the sample data folder just to know we have our stuff. So we will do an os.get cwd again, just to make sure. Okay, so now we moved into the sample data folder, and then we told it, okay, where are we right now? And said content/sample data, which is good. So now we want to make sure we have our files. So we have our files, and we're gonna do os dot I believe it's listdir, and this is just gonna print out everything in this folder right now. So if we do this and we run this, you can see here we have lyrics data and artist data. So these are the two files that you should have. And this is just another way of checking that we have our stuff. Kind of like, you don't really need to do this in any way. So if you got confused by this part and you're like, I don't know what's going on, don't worry, this part isn't very important. You just needed to pretty much have this. And then the last thing we're gonna do, which is actually like this part is important. If you did os.chdir sample data, what I want you to do now is os.chdir ... and what that's gonna do is it's gonna make us go back to where we were before, because we actually want to go back to the home folder for the rest of this project. This was more like what we did before was just to check the files, but now let's go back to the home, just to keep everything back to where it was. So if we go and we see /content. If you run this and you see /content, you know you're good, because we just went back to where we started and we checked that our files were there, so we're all good to go. Does everyone know that they're in, or does everyone think they're in the /content folder? Hopefully you are. This just means you're back to where you started, and we're good to start. Yep, I see a yup. So if you wouldn't give me yups, we'll move on to some real stuff now. So this is just make sure you have the data. That was step one. How can see the, oh wait, I see, was that question recent? I think. How can see the folder? How can we see the folder? I'm not quite sure what you mean. How can we see the folder? I just showed you the exact, like, by doing this code, you can see the folder. Get cwd gives you like the path, which is like, it gives you like these printouts, the /content/sample data. That's the cwd. The sample data folder in the sidebar. Yeah, I'm not too sure what the question means. Like this sidebar and this is kind of like the same thing. This is just like a code way of looking at the sidebar if you don't have access to it for some reason. Like sometimes you won't have access to it if you're working on other machines. So this is why I want to show you how to do this. But how can we see the folder? You would go like listdir. That's kind of like you see what's inside the folder, if that was your question. What I would say was, how can we see that we are in /content? I can't see /content. If you do os.getcwd and run, oh, maybe if you added an extra space here, you might get something. Oh wait, no, it still gives it to you. I don't know. I would say like if you typed it out in a, like, if don't put anything under it, like don't put like any like print or anything under it, just run like this exact line, os.getcwd, and it should say /content. How can we see we are in /content? Yeah, I would say just run this in a code cell on its own. So if you just like plus code cell and you just do os import os and then os.getcwd, you should be able to see /content. I think that should answer your question. So, okay, I see it now. Good. So the next part that we're gonna do is we need to do some installs. So you know what? Rather than making you guys type this all out, I will send this in the chat and you guys can just copy paste it, because really this part isn't too important. So here's the first one. So feel free to create a new code cell and copy paste these as I send them to you, and start running them. So actually, before you run them, I lied to you. I forgot to tell you guys to change onto GPUs, and we're gonna need to do that because we're gonna have to clear that later. So disregard what I said before, and bear with me for a second. what you're gonna do is you're gonna want to click this part is really important. So if you're trying to do the other stuff, what I'm gonna show you right now is more important. Go to runtime. So you see file, edit, view, insert runtime. And if I did this on a blank one, you would see it right here, like runtime. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go change runtime type. So again, you're gonna go runtime, change runtime type, and it might be selected as none for you right now. It might be something like this. You're gonna want to make sure it says GPU. And I told you guys before I would tell you what a GPU was. A GPU is just right now your computers run on CPUs normally, and CPUs is like the sort of like the brains of the computer, and it does like little math and it does the processing. GPU is used for graphics, the graphics processing unit, but it's really good at doing a lot of math at the same time in a parallel way. And what it's going to help us do is going to help us speed up our training. So we're going to want to make sure that we have GPU activated. And it's a little hack. This is why we're using Google Collab, because we can do this little hack. So if you're ever working on any machine learning project and you don't have access to a GPU and it's training too slowly, remember this advice. Go to Google Collab, click on GPU, press save, and then run your project. It'll be much faster. So this is a good trick that I have for you. And then click save here. And it might tell you, like, might give you like a message like, oh, you're gonna lose all your progress so far. Don't worry, just a quick accept. That's expected. Let me know if you guys are connected to GPUs, by the way, because we're gonna need that for the rest of the project. Thumbs up. Yep. Okay, and yeah, if it looks like you lost your progress from before, don't worry. You actually don't need your progress from before anymore. It's not that important. So good. So if everything's connected to GPUs, you gotta get moving here. I'm gonna start sending some of these imports, and I sent these before, but I'll send them again. Just start copy pasting them and start running them now that you have your GPU set up. It'll be good. So I will, and I'll start explaining what these mean in a second after I paste mine all in. Okay, so I just pasted those three in, and so you're gonna run all of them. So you can run them. You don't have to run one at a time. You can kind of just run all three at the same time, and as they run, the one will run, then it'll run the next one, it'll run the next one. So you can do that as well. So you should see something similar to my screen as you run yours. You shouldn't run into any errors, hopefully. We're running the same command on the same thing, so there shouldn't be wrong. Don't worry if yours says some error here. That's not important. And if this pops up to you, permit this notebook to access your Google Drive. Click connect to Google Drive, and you might need to go and choose your account, and then scroll down and then choose allow. Don't worry, this isn't doing anything bad. It's just saying like you're giving Google Drive permission, like this, you're giving this permission to use Google Drive. No, they're not stealing anything from you. No, there's nothing sketchy going on here. This is Google, so just feel free to click OK. And then you know it's done when you see, rather than the spinning circles, you're going to see numbers like 7, 8, 9, and that means we're done. So just to go over what we did here, we just pretty much Fastbook and FastAI are all part of the same thing. FastAI is a library that is used for deep learning. It's not that common, but they have a great course that I'm going to talk about later on that I did, and that sort of like gave me the inspiration to make this project as well. So it's a really good library to get started with machine learning, deep learning, and NLP, computer vision, all that stuff. And it uses Pytorch in the background. If you've ever heard of Pytorch, it's just it makes everything a little bit simpler to use, so that like today when we're trying to just like touch on the concepts, it'll be doable for us, and I won't confuse anyone. Like this will keep it as unconfusing as possible. So that's what this is doing here. You're just like installing their libraries and getting all of the required things that we need from them so that we can just use them in our code. And the second thing that we're getting is Pandas. Pandas is a very popular library in Python used for pretty much processing text data. So whenever you have text data, for example, in NLP, you're probably going to be using Pandas. And this is like a library in Python. I use it a lot. So it's good to get some familiarity with this as well. All right, so let's get started with the data pre-processing. I hope everyone's stuff already downloaded, and we're going to move on because we don't have that much more time. Well, we do have a lot of time left, but we really want to start getting into the real stuff. So we're going to start playing around with our data. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to read in our data. For some reason, okay, well, I'll just start. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to read in the lyrics data. So we're gonna go lyrics df. You can name this whatever you want. You can name it. Df stands for data frame. This is like a pandas thing, and it just pretty much means like an object where we're gonna hold our lyrics data. And then we're gonna go pd dot read CSV. We're gonna go sample data slash lyrics dash data dot CSV. So if you remember from before, like we have the lyrics data in this sample data folder. So what we're telling it is pandas dot read the CSV file that is stored in the sample data folder, and the file is called lyrics dash data dot CSV. That is what this command is doing. If you run this right now, it won't work. It should work, but there's like, for some reason, like there's some weird stuff going on. I found a hacky workaround yesterday for this, which I will give to you guys as well so that it works for you guys too. Which, I don't know, the first time I did this, I didn't need to do it. And then yesterday, like this weekend, I was trying it again and it wasn't working. So yeah, I think you're gonna need to do this as well. So I will send this last part in the chat so you can just copy it. It's not really anything important. It's just like a hacky workaround that I found for reading in the data. For some reason, it wasn't working well until I did this. So you can just feel free to run this line exactly as I have it here. Right, it is going to take a while because this file is quite long. When I say take a while, it'll take you like 10 more seconds. So if you guys can just run this line as well, you should have your data loading in. Okay, so as this loads, we have to wait a second because it's doing a lot of reading. After this, we should be able to sort of just read the data normally, but this is the workaround. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know why mine is taking so long. Yesterday, it did not take this long. Sometimes when things are being slow, I'll just assume that something went wrong for some reason. So I'll just stop it and I'll rerun it. Hopefully this time it'll load a lot faster. That's my hope. Computers work like that sometimes. They don't work, and then a second later they work. So yeah, let's hope this loads now because I'm not sure what it's taking so long. Let me know if this loaded for you guys because maybe it did. Maybe it's just me. I got an error. Interesting. It finished loading for me. Okay, well, if you got an error, maybe you're experiencing the same thing that I am. I am not sure why. If it finished loading for you, that's good. Realistically, I don't know why. What's going on here? You know what? Let me just assume that. You know, maybe I have too many tabs open. Maybe that's why it's being slow. I'm gonna close this one completely. You shouldn't really get an error. File not found, no file. Oh, if you got an error saying file not found, it's probably because you didn't do os.chdir, or you didn't download your, like if you see the artist data.csv and lyrics data.csv in here, you probably didn't do this command os.chdir ... So run that. Run that. And someone said my error is pandas is no attribute read. Oh, if you probably did pd.read. Remember, it's pd.read underscore CSV because you're reading a CSV file. And actually, oh look, I think my thing loaded. Maybe I don't know if it loaded, but pandas is no attribute. Oh, it's read underscore CSV. So pd.read underscore CSV. And actually, if you did get that to work for you, yeah, you know what? I'll just send you my exact line because my exact line works in the chat, and then you just copy that line and you go for it. So this is the exact line, and if you got this to work, what you're gonna do for some reason, you're gonna have to delete just the last part of it. You're just gonna go like the first part, and you're gonna go. Even if you like did already get this to run, you need to do this step, which this is a hacky workaround. This is why I said it was like a weird thing. and you're gonna read it in again, just straight up, and then you're gonna go dot head, and then this, it should give you, oh, okay, well, mine decided not to load now, so let me go back and do the first step again. If you saw what I typed there, like this, if it worked for you, please run this. This should work for you when you run it. I'm not sure why mine is not running. I think this line didn't run, and that's why. So that's probably why. But yeah, hopefully your guys' lines are running. And it's just me who's having issues here. Worst comes to worst, I guess I'll just have to show you guys the finalized example. And there's going to be sort of no follow along if for some reason this isn't working out for me today. You know what, I'll give this one more time. Don't do what I'm doing right now. I am just trying to restart. So this is just me restarting my stuff just to see if I can get it to run. So please don't do this. If don't copy me, but yeah. Hopefully by doing this mine will work. It only works when I keep the workaround. Yeah. If you don't keep the workaround, oh, I guess you mean the second time around it doesn't run. Which is strange because it worked for me yesterday. I mean, if it works for you with the workaround, I would say it's probably fine. But in any case, I might have to. We'll see if my environment loads back up. I'll give this one more try. If it's not working, then I'll just show you guys what I got, and I'll sort of talk through it. And you guys, sorry, won't be able to follow along with me, but later on, you can feel free to type this out on your own. Yeah, I would say that. Okay. Let me try to run this again. I'll run this one more time. If it seems like it's not working, I'll just move on. I think changing the runtime to GPU release your file since file error not found. Maybe. I mean, I guess I didn't do that, so that might be the problem. Yeah, so just make sure you have your files artist data and lyrics data there, because if it's not there, it's not going to work. Well, yeah, either way, yeah, I'm sorry about this, guys. I did this yesterday, and I was able to do this fine, but today, like, I guess it works for you guys, but it doesn't work for me. So, yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to show you guys the final result, which is unfortunate because I won't be able to explain it as I go and show everything as I'd like to do it, but I think that's what we're gonna have to do here. So let's do that instead, actually. I can still start, like, send the commands in the chat. You can try running them along with me. Just, it's gonna be hard to explain everything. So if you just sort of pay attention, that might be the best way. Yeah. So the first command that you should have run is this one. This is what we did before. And what this does is it's a little workaround, and it'll get you. What did I call? Yeah. So the NAN thing is because that's the workaround thing, and then so let me explain. So this first part is the workaround, and it doesn't really do the job it's supposed to do. It just cleans up your file a little bit. And I don't really know why this works, but it does. It was working for me yesterday. So you have to run this. So I just sent something in the chat, which is like something I just copy pasted, and you have to run that, and it should give you a bunch of NAN stuff. Then after that, in a different code cell, you're gonna have to run this command. Is there a way you can get the step-by-step version? This is the step-by-step version right here. So yes, don't worry, you'll get the step-by-step version where you can try this out later, which is why this is all completed, and it'll show you sort of what happens. So yeah, don't worry, this is a step-by-step version. So this part, you should have something like it should look a little bit like, you should see the lyrics of the song. If the lyrics data work correctly, it'll show you the lyrics, and it'll be fine. Mine just, I don't know, it did not like it. But you know what? I might give it one last attempt, and I might even just try to. You know what? I'll give it one last try because if I just explain everything, it'll be quite a bit faster. So I'm gonna give it one last attempt at connecting myself so I can type this out with you guys. But if not, we'll change to the I'm just gonna talk through it, and in that case, I won't be typing everything out, and you guys shouldn't type everything out as well because I'm gonna go a little bit faster. But later on, you'll have the file to work through it yourself and create your own music, hopefully. So let me try this one more time in this one. Maybe if I start fresh, it'll work better. So here I'm gonna try one last time to get my files in. Okay. So get my 2 files in. Runtime. Change runtime type is probably none. So I'm gonna go to GPU save. Manage sessions. This is just because you're only allowed to have one at a time open. So let's see. Let's see if this works. Maybe this does the magic for me. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, and like someone said, I just reconnected the runtime and it deleted my files. So that's probably why it wasn't working for some of you. Where you're just gonna have to put them in there again. Sorry if I confused everyone there. Does anyone get errors saying that skipping line? Oh yeah, the skipping line stuff is part of the hacky workaround thing, which it shouldn't break anything, but later on when you read it in normally, it'll sort of fix it for you. And normally you don't need to do this. It's just like, for some reason in this case, I found that this is what works. And I didn't need to do this before when I did this project the first time. But like I said, I tried it again this weekend and that's what I needed to do. So it's just a little, sometimes like you just need to have little tricks up your sleeve to make things work. Let's try this one more time. Okay, please work. Okay, so actually I think this worked. Funny enough. So if you ran this line, what you're gonna do is you're gonna copy paste this exact same thing, and you're just gonna remove the hacky stuff. And I guess I can't really focus on everyone having errors. If you have errors, don't worry, just watch the video later and follow along, do exactly what I do, and you won't have any errors. So if you got lost, just like feel free to listen around and see what I do, and you should be okay. So if we do this, this should read in the data and not have any problems. I don't know what this is giving me errors now. Why is this happening? Hold on. There should not be any errors actually, because yesterday there was no errors. So today, I am not sure why this is the case. Actually doesn't make much sense. Yesterday this worked. Today this doesn't work. That's good to know. Yeah, I think people are saying with the workaround, like this thing gives you something that doesn't make sense, which is true. Yeah, it gives you like a bunch of these. But yesterday when I did it, all I had to do someone had a solution to it. Let's see what someone is saying. Let's see if this works. Someone said that this worked for them. Yesterday this worked for me, but today this did not work for me. Maybe someone else's ideas can help. let's see. Hopefully this works. I mean, if this works, we can move on with this. You know what? This worked. Whoever did this suggestion, thank you for this hacky workaround as well. So yeah, let's try this. It's working. It's working. So if in case you haven't gotten it, just try running this line. If you're stuck, just move on. Thank you for whoever sent that. Yes. So yeah, I guess sometimes you just need workarounds. Yesterday my workaround worked. I'm not sure exactly why it didn't work today. But anyways, let's move on. So this is the lyrics data. I promise you the rest will not be that complicated. Now we want to get the artist data because remember we have the two files. So artist df is equal to pd. You're going to read in the CSV again. And this time it's going to be sample data / artist data.csv. And if you have any typos in the word, and you don't need to do the hacky workaround for this one, it should be fine. No hacky workaround. It'll just work. And as you see, we have our two columns, our two data frames. And this is what a data frame is. Like this is like what this is showing you is the top of the data frame. This is what it is. So yeah. Hopefully you guys got to this step. The next part is we're gonna have to put the data together because we have the lyrics and we have the artists. And the way that we're gonna put this together is that we have this in the lyrics df, we have this a link, and what this represents is the artist link, which is this exact thing. Like these two should match up. This guy right here is the same as this guy right here. So what we want is we want to put these together. And the way we're going to do this actually is we're going to go lyrics df dot rename columns is equal to, and you're going to go, whoops, not like that. Rename columns is equal to a link, and you're going to rename this to link, I believe. Let's see what it's. Yeah, just link. And we're going to see what happens. So if we go back to the top, oh no, it's actually not link. It's a link like this. So a capital L link, and then this actually isn't changing anything right now. This is just letting us see the changes that we're making. So what we just did there is that this column before it was named a link, we're just renaming it to link because we want to match things up properly. So we need to do that. And now that we know that this works, we're going to go in place. In place is equal to true. And what this does is that this actually modifies the data. So before we didn't modify anything. Now we're going to say, okay, we want to go through with the change, and we want to. Okay, you have to remove the head part because we're modifying it in place, so we can no longer have head. So, okay, so we just modified it in place, and if we want to see what we just did, we can go lyrics df dot head, and this just takes a look at the top of what we did. So we just renamed it link. And now what we want to do is we want to combine them. So you can say combine df is equal to, we're going to go to the lyrics df dot merge, and this is what is going to combine them both. And we can go artist df comma on is equal to link. And this is why we renamed these to links, so that we can put them both on link. And actually, before we run that, we can actually just, I think we can do it like this. And we can just see what it would give us. So yeah. So let's see this. So right now, what we have is that before we didn't have the artist name and the lyrics together, but now you can see we have the artist name right here and we have the lyrics. So because we have lyric and artist, now we have all the data we need correctly. So this is exactly what we want. So now we can put this together and we can say combined df is equal to. So this is what, now we're actually like making the change and committing to it. And if we want as well, we don't need all the columns, so we can just choose a few that we want. I know that I want, for example, the lyric. I want the artist. I want the language, and just trying to check if there's anything more important that I need. I think. Oh, and I want the number of songs. And I also want the song name. That's actually quite important. So, because obviously, like, this is what we have right now is we have what are the lyrics, what is the song name. So this song is, this is what it's called, this is the name, this is the language, which is PT, stands for Portuguese, and this is the number of songs that this artist has. So we only want to take some specific columns. So let's see. Right now, this is what we did. So we have the lyric, we have the artist, we have the language, we have the songs, and we have the song name. This is perfect. Hopefully you guys are here with me. And it's currently 9, so I think we're gonna take till 9:30 to do this, and we will finish by 9:30, so you'll have this working by 9:30. So you should be right here. If you got lost, don't worry, just follow along later, watch the video back, and do it. So yeah, we'll keep on working. Let me turn my lights on, it's getting a bit dark. So now we have the combined DF. The next step would be to actually get a specific artist, I believe. So if I just go back, actually there's one more sort of, I guess, important step, which would be actually, yeah, there's one more important step, which is we don't want to have combined data. So not combined, duplicate data. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get rid of any duplicates that we have. We're going to go combine df.drop duplicates subsets is equal to, or no, subset is equal to s name. What this does is that it pretty much like says like s name stands for the song name. So if you have multiple copies of the same song, we don't want to have multiple copies because that's just going to be bad data. So we're gonna do this, and we're just gonna, this isn't gonna change the data. This is just gonna show us that it's doing something and that looked like it worked. So then just to confirm, we're just gonna go in places equals true. So that was just to check, and this is to actually like go through with it. So we just did it. So now we have the data how we want it. And the next part of this is that we're gonna specifically only get English artists, because really we don't want Portuguese. We just want people who are speaking English. So we're gonna go English df is equal to combined df dot lock. So dot lock, all it's doing is pretty much like it's doing a search, it's doing an indexing if you're familiar with indexing. And I won't go through this right now, but it really, it's nothing too special. And all you're gonna say is you're gonna say combined underscore df, and you're gonna look for the language. And English is when it's en. Okay, so you're just gonna search for English as a language, and then that's all you're gonna do. It's not really that complicated. And what this is gonna give us is gonna give us only English, pretty much songs. So as you can see there, if we went back, like these were in Portuguese, right? Like our first songs were in Portuguese, and now after doing dot lock is equal to English, we see all the languages are English, and even though it's the same guy, for some reason, I guess he has a lot of songs. You can see that these are only English songs, which is perfect because that's what we want. We just want to be sort of, we want our model at the end for natural language generation to only train in English. So yeah, this is perfect. We have all the English artists. Okay, and sort of, I guess the last part is that now we want to be able to select an artist, because we have a lot of stuff, but like we want to create a model for one specific artist. So how we're going to do this is the models actually work better if you have more data. So we're going to want to find artists that have a lot of data, which means that they have a lot of songs. Okay, So the way we're gonna search this is we're gonna go artists. You technically don't need to do this. This is just for me to show you artists, or we're gonna call this popular artists. Popular artists is equal to English lock. And we're gonna do the same lock sort of strategy that we did before. English songs is greater than, let's just say greater than, I don't know, 250. That means they have like more than 250 songs in this data set, which is going to be really good for us. And we also only care about the artist name in this case. Artist. So this is just, so what we're saying here is like, okay, we want to check who has more than 250 songs and what is their name. So after we do that, we want to, you know what, let me just we'll run this line, just see what it gives us. So, okay, it gave us a list, but we can see that like this sort of, well, this is a NumPy array, I believe. But it's not really useful because you see there's a lot of like repeats. And we don't want repeated stuff because like that doesn't really help us. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna say .unique, and what it's gonna give us is it's gonna give us only unique artists. So unique did not work. Then I think maybe it's because why would that be? Interesting. Well, let me try this. Let me try pd.series. Let me try changing this to series specifically. Maybe this will do the trick. .unique. Yeah, this did the trick. Okay. Sort values. So again, this line you don't really have to follow along with me if you still are following along. Okay, so interestingly enough, this is gonna look weird to you guys, but we're gonna do this twice. Sort values. And these are gonna give us artists that have a lot of songs. And you probably want to choose from this list of artists yourself for like the model that you're going to create. So what you're going to create is you're going to create songs for one specific artist. Oh, I just got a typo. I was doing unique wrong. That's probably why. I probably missed that. Anyways, it worked out. It worked out. Does anyone have any artists in mind? I realized yesterday I probably shouldn't do any rappers because there's going to be a lot of like bad words here. I don't think I should be putting bad words online. So I prefer not a rapper. You can choose a rapper yourself and you can see all the swear words on your own screen, but let's not have those on mine. Elvis Presley. Okay. We can do Elvis Presley. I guess you would think that he talks like an old person. We'll try Elvis Presley because we got that suggestion. You know what? I like Elvis Presley. Again, I guess feel free to like if you want to like make sure this works, try to choose a rapper because like a rapper talks a lot. Like there's you know what a rapper sort of sounds like, or choose an artist that you know what they sound like. Maybe like even like a Taylor Swift. Like you can imagine how Taylor Swift sounds like. I don't really know how Elvis Presley sounds like, but we'll go for it either way. So we're gonna go Elvis DF. You can call this like whatever artist name you want, and this is gonna be the combined DF. Dot lock combined DF artist. I think it's just artist, not artist. Is equal to Elvis Presley. This is the recommendation that I got. So Elvis DF dot head. Let's see. Hopefully Elvis comes. Okay, there we go. So I have never listened to Elvis Presley. Just want to see how it would go. Okay, sounds good. Okay, yeah, just choose whoever you like. Like from the, like this list that I just gave have like these people have a lot of songs. So I'll just, yeah, if there's anyone from this list say like, oh, this person's cool, like just choose them. I'm cool with Elvis Presley, but here you can see what we did is now we have all of the lyrics to Elvis Presley songs, and we'll be able to train an Elvis Presley model, which is pretty cool. So we're like right where we need to be. Right where we need to be. And I think I'm just going over my notes to make sure that I'm okay. I think for this part, I think we are done with the sort of data pre-processing as a first step, just because I have the rest of my stuff here. So yeah. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create the data loader. So before I like type that out, I just want to like explain high level what it is that we're doing. So we'll be creating like what is the data and what is the model. So the model is we're going to be creating a language model. And how you can think of this is you can think of it as a student that's going to learn to write lyrics in the style of some artist. So in this case, we chose Elvis Presley. So the model is a student that's going to learn how to write Elvis Presley lyrics. So remember, when I say model, just think student. And if I say student, I'm talking about the model. The next part is the learning task. So like in NLP lingo, we're going to be doing self-supervised learning here. For teaching the student about how to learn songs without actually having to label the data ourselves. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to give it a word and it's going to guess the next word. So for example, if you give it the word happy, it might be able to guess birthday if the song is like happy birthday, right? So that's how the data labels itself by you giving it a word in a song, and it's going to guess the next one. So then if you give it another word, it'll try to guess the one after that. And that's why the data labels itself, because it's always just trying to guess the one after. So it goes, guesses the one after, goes, guesses the one after. You don't have to label anything because it's just guessing the next one, and it's really easy to do. And then the steps that we have to do to get the computer to understand. The first thing we have to do is we have to tokenize. So what that means is we're gonna have to convert the song lyrics into like a list of strings. So you can see here in my simple example, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. If that was the song, we would just turn this into a list, and it would just be happy birthday to you, comma, happy birthday to you. And this is just so we break everything up and we know what the words are. And again, we're not going to be doing this ourselves. The Fast AI library is going to be doing this in the background for us, but I just want to explain what's going on in the background so everyone sort of has an idea. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to numericalize. So you're going to create, like, turn this list of words you just created into numbers, into unique tokens. So for example, we take this list, happy birthday to you, which is now like this. And you're going to turn it into 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, where 0 is happy, 1 is birthday, 2 is 2, etc. So we just turn this into numbers because the computer doesn't understand letters. It understands numbers. So we turn it into numbers, then it's a really easy way to pretty much be able to just create numbers that the computer can understand. And the last part we do is we make the data loaders. So we're gonna make data for the guess next word student. So that's what we're trying to make. We're trying to make a student that's gonna guess the next word in an Elvis Presley song. This way, when we give the student happy, so happy birthday to you, with birthday is the correct answer, and then birthday with 2 is the correct answer. So this is what I was explaining before. The student is given the first word in a song and told to guess the second word. Then the student is given the second word and told to guess the third one. Then this pattern continues until the song ends. And that way the student can learn to better guess the next word in the song as it learns more. So pretty much as the story goes, you can think of the data loaders as books we're getting the student to learn. The books contain question and answers. You can think of this like your math textbook. And the student can learn when it's right and when it's wrong. So remember, in this case, the questions in the textbook are just one word, and the song is the answer. The answer is actually the next word of the song, and that's how we're going to do this. So the next part that we're going to do, I actually don't know this off the top of my head, so I will just paste this in the chat. And this is one of the things, like, you don't have to memorize all the commands. I don't, or like all the code. I don't know all the code myself, and this is just an example here because really, like, that memorizing isn't what you're trying to do. You're just trying to like understand the concepts. That's the important part. So this is going to create a data block for Fast AI, and it's going to do a lot of the stuff that I just talked to you about. It's just doing it sort of in the background. So I just pasted in the chat. Feel free to run that block of code, and it's pretty much going to prepare. You can see that we have this. Actually, you know what? This is an important part. I just pasted this in the chat directly. but you need to rename. So I called mine Elvis DF. So whatever you called, if you're still following along with me, you're gonna need to rename this as whatever you called your artist, like artist data frame. In this case, I called mine Elvis DF, so I'm gonna have to put Elvis DF here, or this isn't gonna work. So let me run that again with Elvis DF in there. And for me, it actually did work because I had another artist DF loaded up top. But you're gonna make sure you want to have like whatever you named it here, where you have like your one artist. Make sure that that name is right here. And then the next part is, again, I don't memorize this command. Is what we're gonna do to like make the specific data loaders. So this is what we were talking about before. Again, if the words I'm saying are kind of like confusing, don't worry about the words I'm saying. Just remember what I said about the student trying to learn the next word. That's what's important. The student trying to learn the next word. And I'm gonna go back here. Again, sorry if this command you're gonna have to change. I had artist df in here as well when I copy pasted it. You can't have artist df. You're gonna have to have whatever you named it. If you named it artist df, it's gonna work. If not, just change the name here, like in both places, so here and here for the one, and it'll create what you need. So let me just go back to the example. I realize I'm running out of time, so I'm just gonna try to speed up a little bit. We're almost done though. And then what we're gonna talk about is optimizations. So this data loader that we just created has a few tricks to speed up training the student, and that's what these two things that I just sent you pretty much are tricks to speed up the training. The first thing is the sequence length. So we have a student, but like he can't remember everything. He can only remember a few things. So if you like go back to where we were, we have the sequence length, the seq length. What this represents is it's representing like how many words in a song we want students to learn at the same time. So we just told it, okay, we want you to learn 72 words at the same time. And then the second thing is the batch size. So if we go back here, we can see that we have this DS equals 128. This represents the batch size, and what the batch size is like the student, you can think of it as an alien from another planet. And this alien has the ability to learn a lot of songs at the same time. So the batch size pretty much represents how many students we want that alien student to learn all at once. Because this is like a normal human, you can only learn one song at a time. But to make it faster, what happens if we give it 128 songs? Well, that's what the computer can do. That's why we're using a GPU, because we want to be able to learn 128 songs all at the same time. It'll just make learning a lot faster, right? Because 128 is a lot faster than one, right? So that's all we're doing here. And then as you can see, like when I talked about like one word and then the next word, remember I told you like you're taking one word and you're trying to predict the next one. This is what this sort of thing is printing on the screen. So you can see like I need somebody, and like you see this exact same thing, and like you might think that like the one on the left and the one on the right are just exactly the same, and they are. The only difference is that the one on the right is shifted by one word, and that's what makes you predict the next word. So for example, if this thing has the word I, it's actually going to be predicting need, and when this has somebody, it's going to be predicting won't, and when this has that, it's going to be predicting somebody, and like it's always offset by one, so that your student is learning to predict the next word. Okay, that's the important part. Remember, the student is learning to predict the next word, and our data is in the correct format to do that. Okay, so that was that. And now this is where the magic happens. We're gonna train the model. So we're gonna start training. And again, I don't know this command off the top of my head. So I will paste it in the chat, and you feel free, if you're still following along, copy paste that in yourself. Again, these are things you can just search up. It's not something you need to memorize. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. Hopefully I don't have to rename anything. We'll know because it'll break in a second. This looks fine. So I'll sort of, as this trains, I'll explain what's going on. So this will take a while to train. Not too long, but it'll take a little bit. And as this trains, I'll explain what's actually what's happening right now. So let me go back. Sorry, I'm just checking if I need to run anything else, but I think that should be it. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna explain what's going on here. This is where the magic happens, where we put it all together. So what we just did is we gave the students some songs for a particular artist. So remember, I chose Elvis Presley. You chose someone else, or you might choose someone else. And you give them the songs and you tell the students to start learning. And hopefully what the student's gonna do is it's gonna learn to pick up on certain things that it learns from an artist, from the style of that artist, if that makes sense. So maybe Elvis Presley has like a particular style in his songs, and we want our student to be able to learn that style. That's kind of what we're doing. So as you can see here, that's what's going on. And for me to just explain, the stuff here actually, like, we pretty much built it all up. This DLS LM, this is pretty much the Elvis stuff that we had up here. We're just giving it to our model to do. So we're getting, that's like this Elvis stuff. This AWD LSTM, that's our student. So I just gave it the data, the lyrics. This is the song lyrics. This is the student. Don't worry about this. It's not too important. And this is the metric. So what the metric is what the accuracy is telling us is that this is what percentage of words we were able to guess correctly. So right now, our student was able to guess 26% correctly. Like 26% of the time, he was able to guess the next word right. And that's pretty good. Like if you think about it, like that's like, how many of you think you could predict 26% of the time? Do you think you could predict the next word in an Elvis song? Like I don't think I would. So like I think that's doing pretty good. And then what we're doing is we're pretty much telling it to learn. And that sounds a little bit magical. And it kind of is like, I'm waving a little bit of hands here. I'm not going into everything that's going on. While this trains, I'll actually talk about it. But the key point I want to make here is that the whole detail is not actually that important. Like, this stuff is doing a lot of work for you, but you, like, in order to really understand what's going on, you should understand all that work. But it's also very repetitive once you learn it. So it's not too important to know it all and to memorize it all. It's just not that important. So like I said, I kind of lied to you. In reality, there is no student, there is no songbook, and there's no magic learning. And yeah, you guys probably already all knew that. But so let me just re-echo the idea I said. I said that we have a student who is learning to learn the next song in an Elvis Presley. He's learning. Sorry, we have a student who's able to learn the next word in an Elvis Presley song. And we have this magic learning taking place where we just give the student a bunch of Elvis Presley songs and he starts learning. I told you that. And yeah, it's a good analogy, but it's not perfect. There are stuff that I lied to you on. So rather than the student, there's actually a pre-trained deep learning model, which is called the LSTM. I'm not going to explain what that is to you right now, but there's also like a lot of other deep learning architectures or a lot of sample students like RNNs, LSTMs, GRUs, transformers. I just want to introduce the names. They're really not that important. If you ever need to learn about them, you can look into them. Researchers made them. But like, I learned about it like a year ago or so, and I don't remember all the details. And it's why don't I remember all the details? It's because they're not that important. Like if you learn about it once, that's good enough. But like, as you can see, like this LSTM thing that I'm doing, that's what it is. Like it's giving us LSTM right there. The next thing that I wanted to say is that the song data is actually formatted as Pytorch tensors and data loaders. So like, remember, sorry, I'm in the wrong. This is what I kind of showed you that where we have these song lyrics. Yeah, the computer isn't actually getting words. Like I said, the computer doesn't like words. It doesn't understand words. So what it does is that FastAI is able to transform all those words into Pytorch tensors in data loaders for us. And in a second, once this finishes training, I can show you a little bit about that, just really high level. But as you can see, like, our training is going pretty well. Look, we started with 20% accuracy, and right now we're at 31% accuracy. So our model just got smarter at learning Elvis Presley stuff. And sort of the last important point that I want to talk about is that there is a learning cycle taking place. So where I told you that, there's this magic learning happening, that's not really true. What we have is we have an optimizer, and this optimizer is doing something called gradients, which is like this fancy math thing that you kind of just use for making something optimized. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to optimize guessing the next word in an Elvis Presley song. And it performs back propagation. That's also just the same thing as optimize our learning. And we're teaching the LSTM. So what we're like, if this makes no sense to you, let me just translate this into English for you. We're using fancy math to pretty much teach our sample student. That's all I'm saying right here. And I did not show you all of this because I would need a lot more time to show you all of this. But this is some stuff that you can learn on your own, and there's no problem with learning this on your own. So as you can see, we're almost done. I think we have about a minute left in training, so we'll finish off this training, and then hopefully we'll be able to see what Elvis Presley is saying. And if you guys are following along with me, you can see what your own artists are saying. In the meantime, I think I will probably paste these in. These are just some helpers. Someone asked a question. Where can I access the code and lesson? Okay, I will show you that at the end, so not to worry. And then is the fancy math calculus? Yes, it is. Gradients are calculus, and it's pretty much what a gradient is if you have like, it points in the direction of the fastest rate of change. That's all it does. I don't want to go into any more of that right now, but it is calculus. So let me just paste this in. You can paste this in below if you're following along with me, because you're gonna need these. Just as these kind of just like helper stuff, just so you can see your results. And you know what? If you're, I think I'll give people who are curious access. I have this all in a GitHub repository that's public, and I have a lot of stuff in here. And if you just go here and you go under Learnathon, and then you go under, Learnathon lyrics base, you can find the link. I'll send it right now, and I'm pretty sure I'll give access to people at curious. So actually, you know what? This is the exact link that you'll need. I sent the general repository there, and here's the exact one. So this is like a full example with all the code. And if this doesn't work for you for some reason, it might be because we need this line. I'll try to edit it after I'm done. But remember, someone gave me like a helper line that like with this engine is equal to Python that I didn't have. So you might need that. Yesterday it worked for me without it, but today it wasn't. So I'll try to update that for when you're looking at it. So let's see. Okay, we're 100% done. So we ended up having 32% accuracy, which is pretty good. And now we're just gonna see our results. So I think I'm pretty much out of time, but all we have to do now is see what Elvis Presley is saying, and then we're done this project. So we're gonna do some predictions. And yes, this is stuff that I wrote on my own. I didn't copy paste this from anywhere, so you won't find this project anywhere else. At least not the exact same copy of it, because I made this on my own. In case you were wondering. So this is what we're gonna give it. Hey yo, this is it. Or maybe we'll just do. I don't think Elvis Presley says hey yo. That's probably too much nowadays. We'll just say this is it, and see. We're gonna try to predict 60 words and see what Elvis Presley says. Let's do it. So if you're still with me, here's the moment of truth. Right now, what we're just doing is we have this learn. This is Elvis Presley. Oh, let me try that again. Why did you not do this? What did Elvis Presley say? Okay, I'm gonna get to this in a second. So this learn is Elvis Presley, and Elvis Presley is predicting the start words. He's predicting 60 words, and this is kind of like a randomness. So this is what Elvis Presley said. This is it. The last time you can know how to feel brain. I won't care if it's right to go home. I care if you're in the brain thinking of the brain. Feel the brain. So yeah, this is kind of it. Does anyone else, just to wrap up, does anyone else have any few words that they want me to try out instead of this is it, just so you can see like what else it would give me? If anyone wants to type anything in the chat, we can do that, and then we'll wrap it up because I am almost over time. I'll give it a second in case anyone. Fun stuff song. I don't know if that's some. Well, maybe that's in the. Someone puts fun stuff song. Well, just to be weird. Okay. Well. Okay, we'll see what goes on. So we'll do fun stuff song. I have no idea what it's gonna say, but let's check. Fun stuff song by Jay Byers. Song Walk It Down. Part of his song Rain on the Wind. So as you can see, like it does make a little bit of sense. Like it doesn't make perfect sense, like I said. But this is what an Elvis Presley style would be like. And if you did a rapper, you'd probably see a lot of swear words in here. So if you did that yourself, like feel free to check it out, play along, create your own, like choose a different I guess artist to model. And yeah, feel free to make some music. I had a lot of fun with this when I made it. And I think it's a cool little project to show you just like how powerful this technology is. And really, like, oh, I was able to show you all this in an hour. So it's not like this is something impossible to make. Like you can definitely go out and learn it yourself. So just to wrap it up, I promised you guys that I would teach like tell you how you should learn more about machine learning, deep learning, and NLP. So if you stuck around this far, I would say the most important part of everything I'm going to say is right now. So how do you keep learning, or how do you like at this point, like you're interested but you don't really know where to go? I'm going to tell you what I did, and you feel free to try what I did. It worked for me, so it might work for you as well. So the first thing I would say is start with some free Kaggle courses. So remember, I made you sign up for Kaggle today. There was a reason for this because we needed the data, but also it's where I started with data science and machine learning. So I recommend their courses, and no, you don't have to go along and do all of them, but you can see here they have a bunch of, like, if you go to under their courses tab, remember this is going to be all available for you, so you'll be able to look at, like, I have the link right here, so don't worry, I'm not going to send it in the chat. You'll have access to this. They have some courses, and it starts pretty much from the bare basics with Python. So if you don't know Python, you just start there. And I only did 30% of it because I think I already knew Python when I was doing this. But they have also like a bunch of other courses, and you can see like I completed a lot, like Intro to Machine Learning, Pandas, Intermediate Machine Learning, Feature Engineering, and these are all like really small courses. And these are beginner level courses, I would say, and they're like micro courses. They take you like 4 hours to complete, so it's not a big commitment. It's free, and you start learning some concepts and like getting your feet wet. And this is where I started. So if you've never really done anything and you don't know where to get started, I would definitely recommend these Kaggle mini courses. And then after that, you've worked on a few courses. I would say like maybe try making your own Kaggle projects. Kaggle has a lot of data sets. They have a lot of competitions. So you can sort of sign up for some of those and experiment with some of the data sets. And they'll tell you this if you do their courses. So I won't talk more about that, because if you do work through this and you do some of their micro courses, it'll give you a lot of like hands-on experience, and it'll be good. And then the second part, which is if you think you've already worked on machine learning for a while and you did it for like about, I would say maybe like few months, and you feel comfortable with general machine learning already on Kaggle and did a few of your own projects, and you want to learn deep learning now, because deep learning is a little bit more specialized. I'd recommend waiting a little bit to jump straight into deep learning. First, do some machine learning on Kaggle and data science, and then get into deep learning. I think that's a better way around it, just so it's not like such hard of a jump. I would say you can do fast AI deep learning for coders. So a lot of the stuff that we did right here was using the fast AI library, which abstracted the Pytorch behind. Fast AI does teach you how to do Pytorch as well, but like you don't have to do, like, the high level concepts are what's important. And like again, most of the information which I learned that I actually haven't, like, most of what I taught you I learned from there. So it's a really great course that I would recommend. They have a website for the course, which is here, and they also have a free textbook version, which is of their course, which is here. And they have like it's really great course. It's free. It's about deep learning. I really liked it. Would really recommend it. So yeah, feel free to start along with it. And don't rush yourself. I'd say don't think you have to start deep learning tomorrow. Like if you start some machine learning and then maybe like in a few months time jump to deep learning. I think that's what I did, and it worked well for me. I think like spacing things out and learning a little bit about everything helps me out. And then once you feel comfortable after learning, make your own projects. Like this is a project I made by myself, and you should like make your own projects to keep learning. And also consider teaching others, like I did today. I taught you about students and aliens, and what else did I teach you about? Books. Yeah, like this is stuff that I had to come up with by myself. I had to tell a story, and hopefully you guys understood the story. But it really got me to think deep about what am I really trying to teach here. Because if you just kind of learn it, you can say that you understand it, but until you try explaining it to people who don't know, I think you can't really say that you understand it. So definitely try teaching it. It's a great way to catch up with the material. So yeah, like I said, I'll probably, you know what, I'll take this Learnathon lyrics, like I'll take this notebook right here, which I have. You know what, I'll upload this into the GitHub, and I'll call it Learnathon22 NLP, and you can just this we just ran it live and it worked, so we know this one works. So if you want to follow along, you can sort of just try exactly what I did here, and maybe change the artist name, try looking into a few details and have some fun with it. So thank you, and I can, if you want to drop off now, I'm a bit over time, so feel free to drop off. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me some questions. I'll stick around for another 5-ish minutes, or 10 or 20 if you guys have any questions. But yeah, thank you for coming. Okay, I see a question already, so thank you so much. No problem. You're welcome. Thank you for coming. How do you come up with project ideas? Okay, so this is actually a good question. Project ideas, I think you just sort of you start working on stuff, and then you see what you're curious about. And I think like this is like the whole thing we're doing today is like curious, and it's about sort of just like getting exposed to things, and then trying things, and maybe they don't always work, but maybe they do work. So maybe the best way I can say this is like, yeah, I would say like try to learn things, and then apply, like think of how you can apply what you've learned, and in any sort of project that interests you. So for example, for Fast AI, I mean, they had like a whole chapter on this sort of thing. But this project specifically that I've shown you today, like they didn't have it. So like for example, I think it was like something like this. This is like the textbook that I recommended to you guys for deep learning. And they had examples on how you can do stuff. And I guess I don't know. I thought to myself like, I saw like the example that they did was with movies and movie data sets. But I guess I just tried thinking about, okay, what else has language, and what else I think I learned that like there was also like natural language generation, and I thought that was a cool thing. And I was like, okay, how can I generate language? So like I just think about things that I'm curious about. And then music popped up. So I just tried making the project. Like there was no guarantee that this was gonna work. Like I remember the first weekend I was working on this, I kind of got nowhere, and I was like, oh shoot, this might not be a doable project. I thought it might be like too hard, or like maybe I didn't understand how to do it. But then, you know, I worked at it a little bit more, and it started working. And I would say like don't start too big, because if you start with a project that's too hard, you won't be able to sort of do a lot. But if you start with small projects and build your way up, that's the best way to go. So maybe another example I can give you was when I was learning GANs. GANs are like another type of deep learning, I guess, model. They're a little bit complicated, but I just started with a simple example, and just like kind of copied what people did online, which I thought was cool. And pretty much what I was doing was like, this is like recreating numbers, and like by itself. So this is drawing its own numbers. It's learning to look at numbers and draw its own numbers. So I started with a really simple example, like drawing numbers 8, 7, 1, 3. So start with something simple that you can find online and follow along with, and then try to modify it. So I thought that was kind of cool. But then what I ended up doing in the end was I tried making my own image-to-image translation, which is the more complicated. So I read a research paper for this, and I was trying to convert apples into oranges. So this is kind of like an example, like this apple goes to this orange. And so yeah, it was kind of just like I started with something simple that I could follow along online. Then I moved on to something more complex. And I guess learning is the best way to do your own projects later on, because if you don't learn, you don't know what you can do. So try learning, then try doing simple projects, then try to think how you can create your own. And I think that's sort of the best way to go. So hopefully that answered. Okay, I think that's it. I see a thank you from people. I don't else. Does anyone else have any other questions? I know it was a long-winded answer. I'll wait around a second if someone's still typing a question, and then I close them off here. No, I don't see any more questions. So thank you very much for sharing with us. No problem. I'm sorry, guys, that we had some technical difficulties at the beginning. I promise you I tried this yesterday and it was working yesterday. But today, today someone helped me out. Big shout out to the person who helped me out today. Saved me. Yesterday was working. Today it wasn't. This is how life goes sometimes. But yeah, like I'm sure if you guys are curious and